Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The National Security Minister defends the need for armed officers at hurricane shelters.
A disability advocate opens up about life's challenges.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. 3 weeks after Hurricane Dorian pummeled Grand Bahama Island, the government of the Bahamas signed two heads of agreement with Carnival for the $100 million redevelopment of a cruise port in Sharp Rock and an $80 million expansion of Half Moon Cay. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and members of his cabinet traveled to the storm-ravaged island for the long-awaited signing, which took place today at the office of the Prime Minister in Freeport.
We have reached a point to where we are so delighted to be here today. This will be the biggest in size port project we have ever built, not only in the Caribbean, anywhere. This project probably will creep over 100 million, but let's stay there.
According to the government, Carnival Corporation has agreed to develop a new island destination on Grand Bahama on 329 acres of land in Sharp Rock. Officials say the cruise port will be the largest Carnival cruise port in the world. It is expected to lead to significant job creation during the construction phase and in the long term. The proposed port will include aquatics facilities, food and beverage pavilions, a shopping plaza, miniature golf course, zip line, and sports facilities. Minnis said the deal was a long time coming.
I also noted at that time the development of the Carnival cruise port has been a long time in the making. It has been discussed by successive governments and has gone through various changes to arrive at this very impressive model. What is being proposed will prove to be a significant catalyst for economic growth in Grand Bahama. This cruise port, which will be the largest Carnival cruise port in the world, seeks to make Grand Bahama and the Bahamas one of the best cruise destinations in the Caribbean.
Well, while many got a laugh out of comments made by Environment Minister Amal FERREIRA regarding a goat and 3 birds impacted by the Equinor oil spill in Grand Bahama, environmentalists didn't find it funny. They hit out at the minister and urged him to take the environmental issue more seriously.
When the minister says 1 goat and 3 birds, what about all the people? What about the communities that have to breathe that stuff every day?
It's the quote heard all over the country.
On land, we can confirm that 1 goat and 3 birds were impacted by the spill.
Environment Minister Amal FERREIRA talking down the impact the major oil spill in East Grand Bahama may have had on the environment. But his comments aren't sitting well with environmentalists like Re-Earth Bahamas President Sam Duncombe.
For the marine environment, there is a long-lasting impact from oil on the land, the same thing, the pollution of the groundwater. That stuff needs to be scraped up, cleaned up, and disposed of as toxic waste, because that's what it is.
FERREIRA says about 6,000 barrels of crude oil have been recovered by cleanup teams so far, which is a small percentage of the 75 million gallons that was spilled. He added that the oil, for the most part, was unable to penetrate the limestone. But it's how the spill was handled post-Hurricane Dorian that has environmentalists like Duncombe upset.
The response from the government to the oil spill has been just astonishing, really, because it's almost as though they're mollycoddling them. This is a huge environmental impact to Grand Bahama. It's a huge impact to the water table. It's a huge impact to the marine environment.
And her sentiments were shared by Save the Bay's chairman, Joseph Darville, who lives on Grand Bahama.
And I could not believe, I'm sure he was trying to be funny, but that came across as being crass stupidity. And you know, for that to come out of the mouth of someone over a very serious problem in that area.
Government has expressed satisfaction with Equinor's response and remediation efforts since the spill. Darville said after the storm passed, he ventured out to East Grand Bahama and saw for himself the oil and the damage left behind. He slammed FERREIRA and the government for its handling of the situation.
The immediate response by the powers that be was negligible, non-existing. We should have had the Environment Department there immediately and commanding those people to get to cleaning up the filth and the dirty of that rotten crude oil from our environment.
National Security Minister Marvin Dame says while the country is still reeling from the devastating impact of Hurricane Dorian, it is not open season for crime. Dames also defended increased security measures at shelters that house hundreds of evacuees. Jasmine Brown reports.
Responding to those reports, the National Security Minister insisted it's not an open season for crime, as he insisted those shelters will be monitored.
We still have to ensure that laws are respected and people understand that not because we're in a place as this, that, it's open season.
Dames, who spoke to reporters at police headquarters on Wednesday, also cautioned the criminal element against testing authorities during this time of crisis. He said while the role of some law enforcement officers has shifted to provide security for the victims of Hurricane Dorian, who are now homeless, law enforcement agencies have not taken their eyes off the criminal element.
We understand that we would have just gone through the most devastating hurricane in our lifetime, and that we're working to put the pieces together. But one of the things that is not lost on us, that we can't create a situation where there are open borders and where we take our eyes off of safety and security.
When asked about the need for armed officers at shelters, the National Security Minister said the matter is under discussion on a cabinet level, and law enforcement agencies have been in discussions with the Ministers of Social Services and Immigration.
Let me put it this way. The persons we have assigned to those shelters from both the police and the Defense Force are very capable of managing any situations at those shelters, and they have been doing a tremendous job. Our first responders are out there. They're making their presence felt.
There have been reports of contraband and firearms being confiscated from people in various shelters. However, Dame said while there have been credible complaints, most of the reports have been exaggerated.
There are still an awful lot of complaints, a lot of things that we're seeing being reported over social media that cannot be validated. And what it does really, it takes law enforcement away from those really credible complaints and focusing on those credible complaints. Stuff like firearms and the shelters, there are no reports of any firearms being found in any shelters.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. Well, meanwhile, police on Grand Bahama are investigating the stabbing death of a woman in South Bahama. Georgia Bain reports.
The scene played out like a movie, a man standing on a balcony screaming. According to police reports, officers were called to an apartment complex in South Bahama, Grand Bahama on Tuesday night around 9 p.m., where they met a woman dead with multiple stab wounds. Commissioner of Police Anthony Ferguson gave these details.
I've been advised by the commanding officer in Grand Bahama that there seems to be a domestic matter early yesterday evening, which resulted in the death of a female. And the suspect, who allegedly jumped from a railing, and the last information I had is that he was taken to hospital. I'm not sure yet at this point whether or not what's the state of him, but I know that they have this matter under active investigation.
According to police, officers tried to persuade the man not to jump, but he did, landing on the ground. He was transported to the Rand Memorial Hospital, where he's listed in critical condition. Ferguson dismissed suggestions that there is insufficient manpower on the islands affected by Hurricane Dorian.
We have had assistance from the CARICOM countries. I've deployed 18 officers from CARICOM in the Abacos and 15 in Grand Bahama. And so we have assistance in Grand Bahama, which will allow those officers who are working to get some break time.
The country has seen a spike in murders in recent weeks. It's something the commissioner was asked about. This latest killing brings the murder count for the year to 75. Reporting for our news, I'm Georgia Bain.
Well, National Security Minister Marvin Dame signed a nearly $6 million contract for the expansion of the closed-circuit television program. According to Dames, the contract, which was signed with Proficient Business Services, adds 507 new cameras to the current system.
This administration sought to expand CCTV surveillance by adding an additional 507 cameras, thereby bringing the total to some 750 cameras on the island of New Providence, strategically placed in the various hotspots throughout the island.
According to Dames, Cabinet approved the acquisition of the cameras in late April. He said CCTV will be a vital crime-fighting tool that will improve response times, help detect offenses, and reduce the fear of crime. Chief Technical and Information Officer at Proficient Business Services, Trevor Forbes, said the company is looking forward to working closely with law enforcement to ensure the program is effective.
We have ensured that the expansion of the CCTV network also includes the latest features within the CCTV industry. These include, but are not limited to, license plate recognition, facial recognition, and artificial intelligence.
Still to come, police also signing a $6 million contract for radio system. The details after this break.